Welcome to the Break the Stigma podcast, where each episode we focus on raising awareness and debunking the negative stigma behind mental health.
Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Angel and this is the Break the Stigma podcast. Today we have a special guest, my grandma Katie. You want to introduce yourself to the crowd?
Hi, I'm Katie Lester, Angel's grandmother.
Tell us about yourself. What do you do for a living?
I am a hospice caregiver. I work for Serenity Hospice. I've been doing hospice for, I want to say 10 years now. I've been working for Serenity for just about 5. It's a difficult job, but if you go in with your heart, you can do it. We're trained to not get attached, but if you have a heart, like I said, you do get attached to your clients, residents. I'm a mother of 4, a grandmother of 5. I'm divorced. I'm single.
Hey, any men out there?
And it's all about my family. For me, it's God, then my family, and then my work. I love what I do. I give it my everything, and I really pretty much got into hospice because of my mother. I've been in the healthcare field since high school years ago, and I continued on, and I went into hospice when my mother started to decline, and I was her caregiver. So it pretty much like turned my healthcare from just being an aide in a nursing home to being a hospice caregiver throughout homes, nursing homes, assisted livings. Right now I'm in an assisted living.
So with that being said, what do you think is the most rewarding aspect and the most challenging aspect of working in the caregiving profession?
The most rewarding to me is knowing that I did the best I could do for my patients, whether they're on their last day or if it's just the beginning of the end for them. That's my reward, that I know that I did all that I could do. And when they do go to their final rest, a lot of times I'm there, and they're comfortable. And I take pride in knowing that I did all I could do to make them as comfortable as I possibly could.
And the most challenging, would that be losing them? Yes,
the most challenging is they say you shouldn't get attached, but if you're with that person consistently throughout the course of a day, and it could be months and months, you do grow attached to them. So the challenging part, the end of life, losing that person, and again, it's also rewarding because I was there and I did the best that I could do. And not only did I comfort them, but I comfort the family, because it's not just about them, it's also about their family, knowing that someone was there and gave it their everything.
Yeah, and I think anyone that has a heart would get attached to someone that they care for.
Absolutely. But again, a lot of people come into this field for the wrong reasons. I'm not saying that everybody, but it's a lot. I've seen a lot of people, it's about the money, it's about the money. It is, you do have to live, you do have to make your ends meet, but if you don't go in with your heart, you really can't fulfill your job. Just my opinion.
Exactly. Yeah. So, as everyone knows, we are in the middle of a pandemic still. It's been going on for over a year now, unfortunately.
Yes.
So, did your schedule change at all? Did it become a lot more overwhelming, like pre-COVID versus, I guess, the height of COVID? Now it's like probably declining a little bit more.
Yeah. The height of COVID. Pre-COVID, it became a little challenging, but once we got into when they started to closing things, and it became more serious than it was serious from the beginning, don't get me wrong, but as it grew, things got hard, because now not only are you concerned about your residents, but you're also concerned about yourself and your family, because after you leave here, you go home to your family and you worry, did I bring anything home? For me, thank God I was able to go and enter my home through my garage and strip down in my laundry room before I enter into my home. You know what I mean? So that kind of gave me a little peace, but the workload got a little stressful. It went from working 5 days a week to 7 days a week, because a lot of people, with children, me myself, I don't have young children, so I'm able to do the 7 days. I guess I could say willingly, because I could have said no, but again, because I love what I do and I care about the people, I did the 7 days a week, Sunday to Sunday. And yes, I was there every day through the whole COVID thing. As far as any of my residents, none of them, thank God, contracted COVID that I'm aware of. Because, like I said, I do hospice, so a lot of my residents were in the dying stages. So, no. But it was scary, for the most part, because you didn't know what to do. As a caregiver, you're trained to wash your hands constantly anyway. So I'm constantly washing my hands. But then you had to suit up, you had to treat everybody like they were contaminated. As far as dying, I work in an assisted living. So once someone tested positive, resident tested positive, they sent them out, because, they live in apartments. So they couldn't care for them. They weren't equipped to care for them in an assisted living, so they had to send them out to nursing homes and hospitals. So I really didn't see anyone pass away. I did hear of people passing away, and some of the residents, even though I didn't take care of them, I knew them. So it was a little hard to hear that someone passed away from COVID. Again, I didn't take care of them, but I did speak with them every day. I did, if they needed something and I was available to do it, I did it, even though I wasn't there to take care of them. Because my opinion is that when you enter into a facility, a nursing home, a hospital, an assisted living, and you are a caregiver, you're there for everybody. It's not my patient.
Yeah.
That is not something that I would do. And I don't think anyone should do that, because once you enter that building, everyone in there becomes your patient.
Mm. And I think that also, like, even if you don't watch someone like die specifically from COVID, like just seeing anyone go through the stages of like slowly declining and slowly on their deathbed, it's like hard for anyone's mental health. So how did it personally impact your mental health, like watching anyone, I guess, pass from anything?
I really believe in God, and I trust Him. So I lean on my faith for the strength to be able to deal. And again, I'm there for the family, so I have to stand strong, because with doing hospice, when you know that they're at the end of life, there are certain signs that appear, and we're trained to know. You emotionally you get caught up, but you have to get strong and like suck it up. You know what I mean? If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because you can't fall weak because you're there to hold up the family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Once that's said and done, and they do their final goodbye, you're there. It's just you and them, and you get to, if you're gonna be emotional, you get to do it. If you're feeling like you need to say something to them that you haven't said to them during the course of caring for them, it's your time to say it, and it gives you peace and it gives you relief that they're no longer suffering, they're no longer in pain, and again, you did the best you could do. So it's a reward. It sounds hard, but it's a reward to know that you did the best you could do, and you don't want to see the person suffer anymore. I mean, I had a resident recently that did pass, and it wasn't from COVID, and she reminded me of one of my loved ones. So when she became very ill, well, she was already ill, but when she started to decline, I did show emotions, but it was just me and her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was kind of hard for me. And my nurse, I spoke to my nurse about it, and I said, this is getting a little hard. I don't know if I could do it anymore. I can't care for her anymore because I'm too close to her. She was gonna pull me off. So happened the chaplain came and we spoke about it, and he gave me words of encouragement, and I was able to continue on. And at the end of her life, I felt a relief because she wasn't in any more pain. She had got to the point where she didn't know who she was. She didn't know who anyone else was. She didn't know her daughters, and it was really hard,
That's sad.
to watch that. But I did, and the family was appreciative and they were grateful because I was there every day.
Yeah. And so you said you cared for your own mother, and then you cared for
Yes.
Your patients. Did you ever see yourself treating your patients as if they were your own family?
The
like
one
your
lady
mom?
I was just speaking
Yeah.
of, yes. I called her mom sometime, she was sweet, and some of her ways reminded me of how my mother, not that she forgot who I was. My mother she knew who I was up until the end. But this lady, she started calling me her. She had a daughter named Katie. So she would tell people, my daughter's coming. Katie, she's coming. So when the staff see me walk in the door, they say, your mom is looking for you. But I knew that it was her daughter, Katie, that she was looking for. But being that my name is Katie, I would go in, I would say, hey mom, you're looking for me? And she said, yeah, come on, it's time to take a shower. So it was very challenging for a while.
Yeah. Have you ever seen anyone make it out, or do all of them mostly pass away sadly?
No, I haven't seen anyone. With hospice, it's totally different than it used to be years ago. Years ago, it was they were going to die.
Yeah.
Now we take on Alzheimer's, dementia, residents too. So some of them outgrow what we can do for them, so they get discharged from our services, which means they still got time.
Yeah, that's good.
So I've seen several patients come off, but then down the road a few months, they might end up back. You know what I mean? But just for that moment, they were free.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
And going back to COVID, was your, like, the place you worked at, was it like how family members couldn't visit?
Yeah.
Their,
Yeah.
So did you have to see like your patients struggling with not being able to see their families and that kind of thing?
Yes. Not being able to see their families. It a lot of residents that were pretty much with it, because like I said, this is an assistant living. They mentally started to forget things, you know, because they were trapped in their rooms for days. They had to eat in their rooms alone, you know, and we were all they had.
Yeah.
You know, they video chatted with the residents, you know, with families, but video chatting and seeing them, especially when before COVID, they were coming on a regular basis. They were able to go out. They would do bus rides, you know, and now it's nothing. You know, so
trapped.
Yeah, so it was a drastic change for them, and even staff became very limited because, you know, staff was contracting COVID. Thank God I never, you know, not saying that I'm better than anybody or anything like that, but I thank God I'm okay. I haven't contracted the COVID. You know, I did all precautions. I did everything that needed to be done. And I'm not saying that they didn't, but at some point they were around someone that, you know, because it was also a lot of staff that was COVID. They had received COVID.
So were you guys at least allowed to like hang out with? Well, obviously you took care of them.
Yeah.
But, like,
yeah.
You were all they had. So
Yeah, we were all they had.
Yeah.
So we were able to go into their rooms and, you know, chit chat or stand at the door. If it wasn't a resident that we were taking care of, we would stand at the door, you know, and how you doing? You need anything? Or, you know, just give them something, you know, do something
social interaction.
Yeah, do something silly to make them laugh, you know, that's my thing, something silly, make them laugh. But yeah, so, and they just started to open up, and they just started to being able to visit families, to visit, and it's limited still.
Yeah.
You know, they have to be outside. They don't have to, quote unquote, wear a mask if they're vaccinated. But all the residents were. They were all vaccinated when they first came out with the vaccine. You know, when they first did the first vaccine, everyone at the place was vaccinated. So
that's good. Did you see a change in the patients' like mental health whenever they were able to start seeing their family members again?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The excitement, the thrill of knowing that they could come out, they were going to see their loved ones. It was like they were bum rushing us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just to be able, you know, and again, they did activities, you know, they weren't, and if anyone knows anything about a nursing home or assistant living, bingo is a hot thing. Bingo is the hottest thing going. And they couldn't play bingo. It was...
Oh, they couldn't even hang out with each other?
No.
That's sad. Even though they all lived together?
Even though they all lived together, they had to, for the first, I want to say the first 4 or 5 months, they had to eat in their apartments. They couldn't even come to the dining area because you know it wasn't. You would be doing breakfast until lunchtime.
Yeah. And
then you would have to start over, and you would be doing lunch until dinner, and then you would have to start over because there's a lot of people. You know, so, and you could only have a certain amount of people at the table.
Yeah.
One person had to be at each table. It couldn't be two because they're not big dinner time tables like we have at home. They're, you know, little round tables or little square tables where you sit 2 people, you know, but they couldn't do 2 people anymore. It had to be 1.
Yeah, so they had like 0 interaction besides with you guys.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people think that like the elderly are like, I don't know, there's like a lot of people that just think that there's like a stereotype where the elderly are like fine by themselves, but I feel like they need the most interaction.
No, they weren't. They were not fine by themselves. You had some that cried. You had some that wanted to escape. Just, I want out of here.
Yeah.
Or activities would take like one at a time for a walk, outside of the building when it was nice enough to walk. During the winter, we dressed them up, put the coats on, took them out for a walk, just to give them the air.
Yeah.
And you find yourself spending a whole bunch of time with a whole bunch of people, but not at the same time, because they couldn't, and the little old ladies, they wanted to get their hair done. They couldn't get their hair done because the beautician wasn't allowed in the building, so a lot of things that they looked forward to doing, they weren't able to do it. And that was the worst part of the COVID for me. These people, they look forward to sitting at the table with each other, playing bingo, getting their hair done, just being able to ride up and down on the elevator. They weren't allowed to do those things because you didn't know who was who and what was what. And you tried to do your best to keep this one from getting sick and that one from getting sick, so you had to keep everyone separate, and then you felt like the bad guy.
Yeah, it's the little things that like matter the most to
Yes.
them, like you said, bingo and
Yes.
riding the elevator.
Yeah, riding the elevator is a big deal. Yes, and the facility that I work in, they do a lot of activities, with having people selling clothes come there, like the little vendors.
Mm-hmm.
Then they have like music coming, they have this big party thing, and all of that disappeared.
Yeah.
And everyone, they ask, but you give them the same answer because of COVID. And it got to the point where they didn't even want to talk to us anymore because they got tired of hearing about it because of COVID.
Yeah.
And I would try to explain that you're going through it in here, but I'm also going through it at home.
Yeah.
But you're, and then they would come back with stuff like, yeah, but at least you get to go outside, and it's true. I did get to go outside, but I got to go from that building to my car to my house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't like I was going here, there, and everywhere. So, but I can understand because I don't know if I would have been able to sit in my house all day.
Yeah, being at home.
Yeah.
I think they were probably more affected also, like, with COVID going on because they were already on their last leg. And then the possibility of them contracting COVID, especially if they already had pre-existing conditions.
Yes.
That was probably a lot scarier for them.
Yeah, and they did lose quite a few residents during the COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I didn't get to see them go, or how it affected them, but the rooms just started to get empty, and you're like, well, what happened to this one? What happened to that one? Or when they come, is this one coming back? And well, we found out this morning that one passed away, or last night that one passed away, so they did lose quite a few residents.
Were any of your patients like friends with them and like talked about it, like about how it affected them?
No.
Well, no, because they couldn't really see them anyway.
No.
Right. Yeah.
No. Well, the one lady, the one that I grew very close to, that I said that her daughter name was Katie. The lady that she lived across the hall from, they had became very, very tight, and she would come visit her because we had to move her to a different unit. But she would come to visit her. The family allowed them to visit each other. And she became very emotional, because it wasn't COVID that she passed from, but through the residents' eyes, it was COVID.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, everything's COVID in their mind.
Yeah. So it was kind of hard for her, and every now and then she'll say to me, "Boy, I sure miss her."
Yeah. with that being said, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about our own families and people we know that have had COVID and how we've handled it and our own mental health going through a year-long pandemic world crisis. So stay tuned. All right, welcome back, everyone. So over the break, we discussed what we're going to talk about next, and as I said, we're going to talk about our own personal mental health and how we've been going through this year-long pandemic with COVID. We were just actually talking about my Aunt Bert, my grandma's sister, how she's been in the nursing home, and we haven't been able to see her since before COVID, basically. And how that's been affecting her and me and the entire family, really, because we usually get to see her for holidays, and we haven't been able to. So do you want to talk more about that?
Yeah. Yes, she's my oldest sister. We haven't seen her since February. February.
Like before COVID.
Yeah, before COVID. Like, I think it was like the weekend after Valentine's Day, something like that. Just on a whim, went and got her, and she came home and we hung out. She's my oldest sister. She has no children. She had a stroke, which sent her into early dementia. I try to take care of her at home, but with working in the field and coming home and dealing with it all day, it was hard. So I was unable to, and she's military. So she had the opportunity to be in a military nursing home. They're very good to her. They take very good care of her. I was going to get her for every holiday. There wasn't a holiday that she wasn't at home. And it's been hard. I mean, to hear her talk to me, she remembers who everyone is. It's her short-term memory that's was affected. Her long-term memory is still good, intact. But to hear her, that we on the phone and they do the video thing with the social worker is very good with calling us every week, by video chat with me and my sister. And I mean, it gets very emotional. She cries. When she cries, we cry, because we're a pretty close family. Holidays are very important. My mother raised us to be a family. You're there for each other no matter what the situation is. You're there and you do what you need to do. With that being said, I haven't seen my sister in over a year. And the military are being very, very cautious. The world opened up for us, but it didn't open up for military. They are still on phase 2. Yeah, they're still on phase 2. But again, they do contact me once a week. They notify me once a week, and then they let her FaceTime with me once a week and once a week with my other sister. So we're in touch and we know everything that's going on, but we don't know how much longer it's going to be before we get to see her, to physically touch her, to hug her, and at one point she wouldn't eat the food. So we had to cook and make food packages and send them there, so that she would eat, because she was, I'm not going to eat. I can't see my family. I'm not eating. I don't like the food. She went through the whole thing. So I cooked, my daughter cooked. We packed up the food, and it's an hour and 20 minutes away from us. So my other daughter drove down, because I couldn't do it, because she see me, that's it. So my daughter, my youngest daughter, she took the food down. She didn't get to see her, but she did take the food down, and I spoke with her, and she was happy about that. So she ate, and everything was good. But again, we haven't seen her since February of last year. And here we are, past February of another year, and we're getting ready to get to another year. I mean, you know, and I'm hoping that at least I can go visit her. I really would like to bring her home for a weekend just for us to hang out. But I gotta play by the rules.
Are they allowing, like, I know some nursing homes were allowing family members to do, like, the window visits where you, like, talk through the window?
Yeah.
That's really depressing, but...
Yeah, they were allowing that, but again, it's an hour and 20 minutes. I'm not driving an hour and 20 minutes to talk to my sister through a window.
Yeah.
When it's FaceTime, it's the same thing, you know. And because I knew it was hard for her and it's hard for me, that would be torture. To drive down, look at her through the window. I'm so close, but yet so far, you know. So I declined the visits, you know, with that. They are working on now us being able to, not everybody all at once, but I think 2 people at a time for an hour outside. They haven't gave me the green light yet, but as soon as they give it to me, I'm going to be there, you know. And I know that's going to be a struggle, but I'll at least get to touch her, you know. I at least get to touch her for an hour.
Yeah. Back to the food thing. Do you think, like, she wasn't eating because she just, like, she wanted a piece of home so bad, and, like, she wasn't able to get that, so having the food cooked for her, like, made her feel the slightest bit better?
Yeah. But, and that's, I spoke with her doctor, and that's what she said, because that's all she would say to them. I don't want this. I want home. I want soul food. I want home cooked food.
I want this white people food.
You know, but she's back to eating, you know. And 2, she had some dental work done, so before COVID. So her teeth are missing. You know, her top, and they had to downgrade her to what they call ground food, which is disgusting, if you ask me. And she didn't want her food grinded up. She wanted to be able to pick up her hamburger and eat it, not ground it, you know, pick it up, a real hamburger, and just eat it. And once they saw that she was able to eat, they you know, they just went back to giving her the regular food. So I think it was because it was ground, but 2, because it wasn't home cooked food.
Yeah. Do you think like once she gets to finally come back home to family, that she's gonna, like, not want to ever go back because she's been there for so long? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that that's gonna be a struggle, you know, but I'll explain it, and I'll explain it, and I'll explain it. You know, it's just, I'm just gonna have to reassure her that more often I'm coming, you know, because again, she was home for every holiday, and then I would go get her like once a month for the weekend, you know, if it wasn't a holiday, just to go get her. So what I'm going to have to do in the beginning of her being able to come back home is probably I'm going to have to get her twice a month, you know, until she's adjusted. Until, because she can't make up for it. But until she gets adjusted to, this is the routine we had before, this is the routine we're going to have now. You know, I wish that I could bring her home. I do. I wish that I could bring her home, or at least closer to home. But the closest place, a military place, the closest is where she is. You know, and again, I can't work in the field and come home and do it too. I can't.
Yeah, because home is home. Home is away from work.
I would be mentally drained. You know, besides physically being drained, I would be mentally drained.
Whenever you cared for Grandma Lizzie, were you also in the field at that point? So how would you be able to do it again then if it was with them?
Well, I took with my mother. I took a leave of absence from work, a family leave, which is they give you 12 weeks. I didn't need the 12 weeks because she didn't make it to 12 weeks. But yeah, if it came down to it, and that's what I had to do, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
You know, this is my sister. You know, and I'm gonna be there for my family no matter what.
Like family comes before work. So
yeah.
Do you think she's going more crazy in there than we are out here? Like wanting to see her, or?
Yeah.
Like
When she remembers, yeah, when she remembers. I mean, they say that she talks about us all the time. So yeah, we're probably both just as nutty as, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me personally, I'm honestly really grateful that like my great grandma and my great yaya passed away before the pandemic hit, because I don't know how I would be if I wasn't able to see them. Like, I'm grateful that I get to see you and like our whole family, because we don't have like predisposed conditions.
Right.
But if I had like my great grandma and my great yaya here like during COVID, and I wasn't able to see my great yaya who lives right there, I would probably like have a heart attack. Like, it would be really hard.
Yeah. You
So
peek through the window and wave.
Yeah, I can't even imagine like how they're all feeling in a nursing home, like having to wave to their husbands and wives and kids through a window, like not being able to hug them. That's sad.
It's sad. It's very sad. In fact, it's a lady that's at the facility that I'm in, and she has a husband. He doesn't live there, but she does. And he comes to her, so happen, her room, it's right by the parking lot, you know, the window.
Yeah.
So he would come to her window, and, you know, they would chat through the window because they were so used to seeing each other every day. He would come visit her every single day, twice a day. He came in the morning to bring her newspaper and her coffee, and then he would come back later, you know, after he went home and ate his breakfast, I guess, whatever. He would come back and visit with her for a couple of hours. He would leave. He would come back later in the afternoon, you know, like after lunch. He would come back and hang out with her, you know, and then COVID hit, and it was back to, the window was all they had, you know, and it was really sad, you know, because she really became very confused. You know, I mean, she had dementia, so she was already a little confused, but that sent it off, you know, not being able to do her regular routine. Because, you know, with dementia patients, you take them out of their routine, it becomes hard for them.
Yeah.
You know, because they're used to one way, and then you change it to do it this way, and it takes an adjustment. So
yeah, and going from talking to someone and seeing someone every single day to not at all is hard for anyone, not even just like even whenever you would come to the house, you would have to stand at the door, and we would have to talk from the door and like, hey, if you were still like in your work clothes, because we couldn't hug, we couldn't like kiss, we couldn't do any of that because COVID.
Yeah.
So it's hard for everyone.
It was really hard. It was really hard. And then, you know, my youngest daughter, Takia, her father passed away from COVID.
Oh, it was from COVID?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yes, it was from COVID. And the hospital, they were good. They called, you know, with the video, and he was on a life support or ventilator. So she was able to see, but you know, she could talk to him, but he couldn't talk back to her. That was hard, you know, to know that my child was dealing with that and going through that. She's an adult, but it was still hard. You know, this is her dad, and she's watching him
pass away.
Yeah. Right in front of her face. I mean, she's watching, and there's nothing she could do because, you know, even though they're passing away, you want to be there. You know what I mean?
Like you said, you want to be there. It's not like you can sit there and hold their hand and just talk to them in person while they're and say your final words that way. You have to do it over a phone screen.
Yes, and that's what she had to do. I mean, and it was hard for her. It was hard for me to see her go through that. You know what I mean? Me and her father was long, never done deal. long years ago. But I mean, because it was over, doesn't mean that I didn't care.
Yeah.
You know, and again, my ex-husband raised her as his daughter, so she, you know, I mean, she lucked out because she had two dads. But to actually watch her dad, you know, it was hard for her, and it hurt me because it hurt her.
Yeah, watching your child be in pain.
Yeah, and you know, he never got to meet his grandkids. You know, all of these things start to they start to flare up and flash, and then even the worst part of it all was she wasn't even able to give him a proper burial. You know what I mean? Because you couldn't have a funeral.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you couldn't. There was so many I can't do things. You know, and I don't know. That was hard.
Yeah.
That was hard.
I didn't even know it was from COVID. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was COVID. Yeah, and it was really hard. He had preconditions, but he did contract COVID. He was also in prison. So yeah. So I made dinner for 4 homes.
I think that's the hardest part too, though, with like the big holidays, that, like not being able to have the entire, because like especially Christmas Eve in our family is like huge. We have a lot of, like, there was that one Christmas Eve when Laquan and Quasia were here, and the other, like, all
from
of
California.
Yeah, everyone. Like, Christmas Eve is a big holiday in our family, and having that pass and only having like me, you, my dad, my mom, and like the little bit of our family rather than the big part of our family was really hard, because it's usually really fun on Christmas Eve and like hectic with all the loudness and games, but it was like scarily quiet this past year. Yeah, and even Thanksgiving, because you know Thanksgiving, everybody has a holiday, so Thanksgiving, I don't know how it came in effect, but I was the Thanksgiving girl. You know, so to break down from doing a whole family to just my immediate, you know, which is my kids, my grandkids, it was a total, I mean, not that we didn't enjoy each other, but it was so different. Yeah, like we see each other all the time. It's a lot different than getting the family together.
Yeah, it was so different, you know, and I felt the effects of it, even though we still cooked like the whole army was coming, you know, but to sit at the dinner table and it's just us, no one else is coming.
Yeah, only having to have the one table there, and not a million of them.
Not having to break down the living room and turn it into the part of the dining room. Yeah, but I mean, you know, COVID was hard, and my pastor always gave us an encouraging word through the whole COVID thing. I mean, I got angry. I won't say depressed, but down, you know, because I couldn't see my friends. I couldn't go. Not that I was a big hangout, go out, party type of person, but if I wanted to, I couldn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was the hardest part, knowing that I couldn't do something.
Yeah.
You know.
And you always want to do something when you can't do it.
Exactly. Because I couldn't even imagine, you know, being alone, going through this thing.
Yeah.
Because it has to be hard. I guess because I have someone with me every day. You know?
Exactly.
My kids, my daughters, my grandkids, they're there every single day, whether I want them there or not. You know, but you know, getting through this COVID thing, it helps to have someone with you all the time.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
I wanted to ask you, because obviously the church is a huge part of your life. So during the peak of COVID, when you weren't able to physically be in the church, was that hard for you, or was it like the same because you could still do it over Zoom?
Yeah, it was not the same, you know, but they were there. And again, the best part of it was that if I didn't go to church, I still could have church, because they did it on the Zoom, you know, or did it live. They did both, live and Zoom. So I was still able, because a lot of Sundays I had to work. You know what I mean? I still enjoyed the service, but it was so different.
Yeah, you didn't get to like sing with your friends or like get to see people and hug people after
Yeah,
service. And
yeah,
things like that.
yeah. You know, you're used to the fellowship part.
Yeah.
You know, you get the word, but then that fellowship at the end is important.
Yeah.
You know, not saying that nothing's gonna happen to me, but I believe that he's gonna protect me through whatever happens.
Period.
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 You know, and now the world is opened up, you know, and I'm still a little bit leery about that. You know, people walking around, I go in the grocery store and ain't nobody got on no mask. I mean, as much as I hated wearing that thing, or still hate wearing it, I still want to make sure, because again, my 3 grandchildren that live with me, they're not vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
One of my daughters, she's not vaccinated. They live in the house with me. So I'm not going to walk around without a mask on and they're not vaccinated and then I come home.
Exactly. Yeah.
No.
So with that being said, do you want to end the episode on a positive note and say what we're most excited for, like, once the world completely opens back up after COVID? Because I'm most excited for our family vacation.
Yes, Lord.
So excited to go on vacation.
Yes, Lord.
And be out of New Jersey and
I am
in the
so
sun.
looking forward to a vacation. Peace of mind, relaxation. Yeah. And if the vacation was even just in the, not that this is what I want, but even if it was just in the backyard and we all out there just doing what we do and ain't worried about no masks and none of that foolishness,
yeah.
I'm grateful.
I'm just excited for 5 years from now, seeing all the Facebook memories popping up and being like, oh, I remember that.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of still being in it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward. You know, me and my girlfriends and my sister, we did book a trip to Aruba.
Yay!
In September.
That's so fun.
So we're looking forward to that.
So with that being said, guys, we're gonna cut it off there. You gotta do it. You gotta clap. Cut it off. And I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much, Grandma, for joining me today. And love you guys. Bye.
Love you.